Okay, I know what you might be thinking just by reading the title of this video. If I'm implying that a random Knight of Ren was about to kill the Luke frickin' Skywalker before Kylo Ren of all people saved his life, I've clearly come up with the dumbest theory ever. I mean, come on, we all know Luke is going to be so powerful he can crush Star Destroyers with the Force just by making a fist and blow up entire planets like a little human Death Star just by blinking his eyes, right? I mean, if he was there during the New Jedi Order massacre, Kylo and his Knights of Ren would have just been obliterated, right? Okay, so obviously I'm just joking around a little bit. I really don't mean to poke fun at anyone who thinks Luke really will be crazy powerful in the new movies. Luke is easily my favorite Star Wars character of all time, so if he did turn out to be that kind of powerful, I'd be mostly alright with it. And yes, I know that in the old expanded universe, now called Legends, Luke was an absolute beast. And I'm not going to say that Luke isn't going to be powerful in the new canon, because you better believe he will be, but they're not going to make him so powerful that he's almost invulnerable. It might be fun to watch, but it'd make for a pretty boring story in the end, and it'd also pretty much render Rey's character irrelevant, wouldn't it? I mean, if Luke could just go handle Snoke, Kylo Ren, and the First Order anytime he wants, what's the point of this trilogy? And yes, I realize Jedi aren't supposed to use the Force to attack, but I think you get my point here. Now, before I get any more ahead of myself, I think I should remind people of just what scene I'm talking about. We see it during Rey's Force vision. It lasts only a couple of seconds and apparently takes place during the Knights of Ren attack on Luke's new Jedi Order. We see what is most likely a Knight of Ren with some type of mace or club-like weapon, raised and ready to attack somebody, most likely ready to kill them, when he is suddenly stabbed from behind by a red-bladed saber, presumably Kylo Ren's. And I know a lot of people think that he's saving Rey at this moment, but thanks to the book Bloodline, we know the timeline is all wrong and Rey would have been abandoned on Jakku years before this attack took place. So he was clearly saving someone else, but who and why? Well, I think it's Luke, and I'll do my best to make my case. Okay, so yes, we all know Luke is going to be powerful, albeit likely not that kind of powerful. So how is it that a random Knight of Ren was about to land a killing blow on him, if that's really what we're seeing in Rey's Force vision? First, I'll say that we don't know any of the circumstances around this fight. Look how many bodies we see in just a few glimpses we get. You think those are all just Luke's students? How many Knights of Ren do you think are among the dead? How many Knights of Ren did Kylo Ren show up with to overwhelm Luke's new Jedi Order? Keywords there being Luke and Jedi. I find it hard to believe that they'd suffer no casualties going against Jedi when Kylo is the only one with a lightsaber and that is confirmed to even have Force powers. I mean, I don't see these seven being like the ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings. I think the Knights of Ren are a little more than Vader fanatics who follow Kylo Ren because he's the grandson of their idol. There's a good chance that not a one of them is even Force sensitive. So do you really think they just steamrolled the Jedi without any losses? That doesn't make much sense, especially if Luke really was there. Let's also keep in mind we know very little about the timeline of events leading up to the turn of Ben Solo to Kylo Ren. For all we know, when the Knights of Ren show up, led by this mysterious figure, Luke has no idea their leader was actually none other than his former apprentice, Ben Solo, until he senses it with the Force that this crimson red lightsaber wielder is actually his former student. Or perhaps Kylo just reveals his identity. Who knows how it all plays out. And what if Luke had absolutely no idea this was coming and thought he'd been steering Ben down the right path, the path of the light, and then this surprise attack happens? How devastating would that be for Luke to lose his nephew to the dark side, especially when your father was none other than Darth Vader? You might be wondering how could such a drastic turn happen without Luke sensing at least something in Ben Solo before it was too late? Well, in the book Bloodlines, we learned that the truth had been kept from Ben, that he didn't know Darth Vader was his grandfather until it became public knowledge roughly 6 years before the events of The Force Awakens. This not only ruined Leia's political career, as you might imagine, since only a select few actually knew the truth, but it forced her to send a message to her son telling him the truth. Who knows how he reacted when he got that message, but it's a pretty safe bet that this played a big part in him turning to the dark side. So now going back to the attack on Luke's new Jedi Order, Luke may have been so completely blindsided and utterly devastated when, one way or another, he learned Ben Solo had turned to the dark side, that for a moment he just gave up all hope and fell to his knees. And that's when a random Knight of Ren was there to seize the opportunity to eliminate him when Kylo Ren stepped in and saved Luke's life. Okay, even if that is what we're seeing here, why would Kylo save him? Well, maybe Kylo wanted Luke to live to see what he'd become, or what he was going to become when he finished what Vader started. Maybe Kylo was mad at Luke for not telling him the truth, that Vader was his grandfather, of course, and wanted to kill Luke himself. Or maybe, just maybe, it was his compassion for Luke that made him save his life at this last second. After all, according to the novelization of The Force Awakens, Snoke believes that Kylo's mind probe of Rey failed because he had compassion for her. We also hear Kylo say during the Force Awakens that he again feels the pull to the light, and that Supreme Leader Snoke senses it. Clearly, even long after the attack on the New Jedi Order, there is still light in Kylo Ren. Let's also not forget that Snoke has yet to fully train Kylo, and that's most likely because he knows there is still light in him, that it's still pulling at him. And only after he kills his father, Han Solo, does Snoke feel like he has now fully committed down the dark path, that he has dealt with that lingering compassion for others, and now he's finally ready to be trained. And think about this for a moment. You know Luke is going to want to bring Ben Solo back to the light side. And yes, he'll try to do this even after he's killed Han Solo and massacred all his students. Ben is, after all, still his nephew and old apprentice. And I wouldn't be surprised if Luke feels some blame for Ben Solo's turn to the dark side. Either because he feels like he failed him in his training, or because he feels guilt for keeping the secret of his grandfather from him. Maybe he'll do it just for his sister's sake. And the fact that Ben/Kylo saved his life will be all the evidence Luke needs that there is still good in him. And if there's ever been a master at turning people back from the dark side, it's certainly Luke Skywalker. Let's not forget he even helped bring this guy back to the light. And who knows, maybe Rey is supposed to help in this process because she happens to be Ben's sister or cousin. If the saga movies at their core are always going to be about the Skywalker family, then I think there's a shot that it was Luke that Kylo saved in that scene. And that act will keep the hope alive in Luke that Ben Solo can still be saved, just like his grandfather before him. Well, that's all I got for you this time. I know there are going to be plenty of people out there that hate this idea, so let me know in the comments below what you think, one way or the other, and let's talk some Star Wars. Also, please subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other videos. And of course, thanks for watching.